there, this is Robin. Welcome to my Stampin' Studio. Today we're going to make these really fun Peekaboo Slider Cards. See how the snowman comes out from behind the trees? We're going to start with a piece of Bermuda Bay cardstock. Normally you would cut it at 5.5, but we're going to go 5.25 inches so that we can make our little pull tab. And we went ahead and scored it at 4.25, same as usual. And then we're going to cut a piece of Whisper White cardstock 4 inches by 5 inches. Again, I want it just a little bit shorter than normal so that I can make my pull tabs, which I'll explain later. Then we're going to use the Ready for Christmas stamp set to stamp our tree. Now we're going to stamp 2 of these trees because I found that one of them wasn't quite wide enough to hide my snowman. We're going to use shaded spruce ink. These are my new ink pads. Aren't they marvelous? We'll ink this puppy up and we're going to stamp it twice. Now this is a photopolymer stamp, so I like to stamp on a mat to give a little cushion because photopolymer doesn't have any rubber with it. And we'll stamp 2. I'm going to go the opposite direction so they take less paper. Now you can fussy cut these trees or you can use the dies that go with this set, which are called Christmas Staircase. But right now we're going to stamp our little snowman. Use the finger hold when you're shedding the new inks. We're going to use Tuxedo Black Memento ink and the Spirited Snowman's stamp set where we want to use the little skating snowman. Mount him on a clear block. Now I'm using the Memento ink because I'm going to use Stampin Blends, which are alcohol based, and the Memento ink is water based. You always want to use the opposite when you're coloring. So I'm going to ink him up and stamp him. I'm going to fussy cut the snowman because he doesn't have dies to go with him, but I will use my big shot for the tree. We'll go ahead and color him. His nose was pumpkin pie and his arms are smoky slate. Then we're going to add some real red to the scarf and the hat. And then we'll go with Pool Party. I'm using the darker one to color the skates and the hat. And then I'm jumping up to Bermuda Bay to add just a little bit more depth for my buttons and my scarf. Use the cutting side down when you're cutting the trees and run that through your big shot. Again, you need 2 of these to make them wide enough. Then I'm going to use my beautiful Blizzard for my sentiment. I'm going to use this one stamp, but I'm going to divide it into 2 parts. Make sure you use a mat, and I made a little grid paper protector. And then I'm going to line that up. I like to use my Stamparatus because it's a good stamp positioning tool. And when you color rubber with your markers, which I'm doing because I only want to use part of my sentiment, you tend to get a little bit lighter coverage than if you use an ink pad. So I want to be able to stamp it twice, and by using the Stamparatus, I can do that. And you'll see I'll stamp, if a hug were a snowflake, see I'm just doing part of it, and I'm going to do it a second time so I get a little darker red. And ta-da! If I were a snowflake, if a hug were a snowflake. And then we're going to use the rest of the sentiment when we do the pull tab. Right now I'm going to stamp the snowflakes for the background for my snowman. I'm going to use Pool Party ink to make some happy snow in the background. You want to randomly stamp your snowflakes just to give a little effect on the background. This is pretty easy, basic stamping. Now I want to see about the placement of my snowman, my trees, and where I'm going to cut my slit. So I'm just the snowman is actually going to duck behind the trees, but I just want to see about where his feet are going to land, because he's going to slide between his bottom and the feet is where the slit's going to be. So I want to make sure that I have a little room to put some mini dimensionals on the bottom of the tree. Just trying to get an idea there. I think I'm going to go with about 3/4 of an inch to make the slit. I'm going to use my Stampin' trimmer. And I'm going to use the little measuring on the left side to do the 3/4 of an inch. Now when I make my little slit, you don't want to cut all the way across. We're not trying to cut the bottom off. We're just making that slit. So come in a little bit. Doesn't have to be exact. And then stop before you get to the end, because that's where we're going to insert our snowman. And there you go, easy peasy. Now we have a little slit to slide our snowman in. Now we need to figure out the placement. Here, I did stamp the rest of that stamp on a little strip, and here's my snowman all cut out. I put a little stilt on with some strong adhesive, and that's just a window sheet. I cut a little slit and put him on so that he can slide, and you can see that his feet go below the little slit and the rest of him is above. And you got to figure out the placement of where you want that pull tab. So I want to start with, I'd send you a blizzard. So we're going to put some more strong adhesive, sticky strip or whatever you have, on your little pull tab. And you only want a little piece so that it will just cover your little pull tab or your little strip. So I'm going to put that just below the little slit, and then we're going to place our pull tab on there. Now this little strip, you can make it as wide or as narrow as you want. Just got to figure out the placement here. So I want it to come out to where the sentiment starts. So that's, I'm going to adhere my strip onto my snowman. Just rub that on. And you can see, so when I pull it completely out, it'll say, I'd send you a blizzard. Now next we're going to make it so that our little pull tab doesn't slide. And we're going to use foam adhesive strips. They're a little taller than your regular Stampin' Dimensionals, plus they're narrow. So I'm going to fit that just below where my little pull tab is. You want to leave a little wiggle room, but not too much. I'm going to cut off the rest of the stilt, the window sheet, because we don't want to catch that on the adhesive. So we want it tall enough to catch our sentiment strip, but short enough that it's above the adhesive. Gotta get it above there. So we'll run that below the slit, and then we'll run another piece above the slit, and then we'll put it all over the back so that it stands up straight. But you want these fairly close. I'm going to do one towards the end here too, just to sort of stop it. The next piece is going to go above that slit. That's going to hold our sentiment in place so it doesn't slide all over, and he can slide smoothly as if he were skating. Oops, got it a little too close. There we go. Nice. So it gives a little channel. Then we'll put the rest, we'll fill up the back. Okay, now we're going to figure out where we're going to place the Christmas tree. We also want to write pull on the end of our tab so that people know to pull. Otherwise, they're going to wonder what that is sticking out there. I don't have a stamp that says pull, so I'm just writing it with a marker. Now for those Christmas trees. We want to hide him so that he comes out from behind the Christmas tree. See how he slides so nicely? So we're going to want to figure out the placement of our trees. We're going to adhere our trees together because he's a little bit wider than just a single tree. We need to figure out the placement. We want to make sure that the tree comes below his skates and above his carrot nose so that we can put mini dimensionals in those spots without hindering the sliding process. My original card, I used larger dimensionals and it didn't work so well because the skate caught on the dimensionals. So once you figure that out, we're going to put on the dimensionals. And you're going to want to put the dimensionals along the bottom edge. You're going to put a couple at the very tippy top. Again, don't look at the video too closely. You're going to want to use many so that they don't hinder his skating process. You want to double stack these dimensionals so that you have a little extra height and a little room for him to slide behind the trees. And that just allows just that extra height. So we're going to go along the bottom, along the top, and a good part of the left edge. I am going to leave a little spot on the top left edge because his scarf hangs out just a little bit. Now we're ready to put this on our card. Oh, there is one other thing I need to do. Because we connected the two trees together, I want to smooth that out a little so he doesn't catch where the two trees meet. Okay, so I'm just going to put some tape. I'm not going to peel off the back. I'm just going to put some tape where the two trees meet to smooth that out so he slides better once he gets behind the trees. And now we can place those trees on our card. Ta-da! Yes, he slides nicely. Love it, love it, love it. We're going to put a little piece of foam strip to stop that so that it doesn't, your little pull tab doesn't go too far in. You want that pull tab to stick out. And that little stopper just does the trick. You don't need to peel the back where the stopper is necessarily. We'll put that on our card base. And ta-da, 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 your peekaboo.